anything I could find in the house was.
I don't think that's this is allowed, so I'll just use my hands.
Yeah, just
Okay,
we'll tell
better.
everybody. Finn, you can tell everyone.
I'm so uncultured.
No, do
Yeah.
you want all our microphones muted or you want them on?
You guys can leave them on for right now. Chatting is good.
Okay.
You know, yeah, just leave them on. You know, if you have a reason to turn it off because you've got dogs or something that's gonna, you know, desperately need to do something. My dog, I do, so she may start barking. You never know.
Yes.
Thankfully, it is not mailman time.
I think that's what makes the Zoom experience so, you know, so authentic. You hear children, dogs, people in the bathroom. It's just
That's true. People cooking.
Yeah.
So Wilma, have you tasted Jones of Washington wines before?
Yes, some of my favorites. Actually, I go there quite a bit. You just
good.
I probably don't look this good when I go in there.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. I think you do look familiar to me. So
Yes.
I was just thinking that I had seen you at the tasting room. So
Yeah, I go there. Well, when you guys were when we had open and we could all go, I used to take my friends there.
oh yeah, it's a great place to hang out. Yeah. You know, it's a little bit quieter down there on that end. It's not quite as noisy with all the other restaurants.
I cannot do the outside experience though. That was just too cold for me.
Yeah, it's pretty cold. You know, we had people still, you know,
do it.
Yes. Not now when it snowed, not so much.
Not so much. No, because
So I have to admit, so first, thank you and welcome to anyone who has joined us. The webinar will be starting at 5 o'clock, so you're in the right place, but we are just kind of chatting until we launch so we don't leave anyone behind. So my husband and I actually went to the place next door, the Mead place.
Oh, the Mead place?
But only because your places were full.
Right.
And we really wanted to sit outside because it's actually a gorgeous, like 40-degree sunny day. And, you know, usually I like to be outside Pybus in the summer when the sun is behind the building and then it's gorgeous. But I thought, I could just sit in the sun and be warm and the fire's on. This is great. So it was lovely.
Yeah, it was interesting because we just didn't until it's so interesting when you have these situations that we didn't realize that could be utilized space. Because we always thought, it's going to be too hot out there, right? It's too hot, which it is in the summer.
Oh yeah.
You know, during the spring and the fall, and obviously in the winter, people sit out there. So it's been a great thing.
An umbrella like they do in Starbucks.
Yes, we do have umbrellas. Yeah, so we'll pull out the propane tanks and move in the umbrellas once the weather gets good, and we have little misters. So you can get, you know, you can keep as, you know, I don't know. You know, they're not a panacea for sure. So
and then, if you partnered with Cheesemonger and use that space outside too, and then they could easily get to the cheese and bring it out. Then maybe it would be even easier.
So Finn, listen to all these we're getting great ideas.
Yeah. I need to start. I need a pen. I need a pen and paper. I feel like this outdoor seating is something I've been missing out on.
Yeah. I've always wondered how come you guys haven't done outdoor seating, because people would sit out there.
Yeah. You know, I actually have brought that up to John, the owner, but unfortunately with him, it's in one ear and right out the other. Unless I
also think it's probably how they currently have it configured, though I know you guys did just reconfigure your inside space, but you seem to use that whole side and then around in front of the door. So it might just be not easy to make.
And that's true, Kenny, because the way they have the door and stuff, it might be awkward for people that you have to go through that back little office area there, you know.
Yeah, it's also right next to the barber.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, that is true.
Which is super cool.
Yeah.
I need to visit there.
Yeah.
But isn't it true that your place at the Cheesemonger now is selling paninis? Because I always thought it was only cheese, but I read that somewhere, maybe together Wenatchee or something like that.
Yeah. So when we started, when John Pastrese bought Pybus Cheese Shop from Dave Hamilton in 2019, they kind of stopped the paninis just because he didn't know the whole process. And just recently, within the past 2 months, started doing paninis again, and we're also door dashing. So if you want paninis, but you don't want to deal with the insufferable mongrels, you can always door dash it. Somebody can drop it off right to you.
Yeah. And you know what else is super good there, Wilma, is the macaroni and cheese.
Oh my God, I love macaroni.
They have macaroni. What do you put in that, Finn, that makes it taste so good? Why is it so good?
He's not gonna tell us.
So it's got melted Gruyere, which is
Ooh,
like
yeah.
a aged Swiss. And then they also, it's optional, but you can get chopped up land Jaegers, which are cured pork and beef sticks, like glorified meat sticks.
Yes. People
and
rave about them.
It's
Yeah,
delicious.
it is
It's
delicious.
delicious.
Yeah.
And for $12.99, you get the big panini and mac and cheese, which even before my discount is a steal. Like, I mean, I can't even finish it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to eat the rest of the day.
I'm telling you, I now have a $10 gift card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing with mine. I hear mac and cheese on a cold winter day is perfect. Really quickly, I just wanted to welcome anyone who has just joined us. The webinar will start at 5 o'clock, so feel free. We're just kind of chatting, and so you haven't missed anything yet.
Yep.
Don't start drinking the wine yet because we got to go through that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, hold off on the wine and cheese.
Just don't drink it all. Come on, Wilma.
You can sip.
We got 2 little pieces of cheese, at least I did, for every one. So you could technically just munch on one.
Yeah. By all means.
I'm going to eat some of my all Rice Krispie treats.
Oh.
They're not that old. I made them like a week ago for it. S'mores, and I had outside s'mores and hot cocoa. Then I made these, and then you put these inside a waffle cone with the chocolate and the marshmallows and nuts or something, and then you stick it in your fire place or your outside fire pit. And when this comes out, it's so delicious. And I have to go, so I have these.
Sounds delish.
Casey, there's an idea for you for your outside space. Your little
there we go.
S'mores kind of bar out there to go with the wine.
Yeah. Well, you can pair wine with desserts. Absolutely.
I pair wine with everything.
That will be great.
Well, maybe not breakfast, but
yeah. The wine just has to be sweeter than the dessert. That's the one thing.
Is that what the rule is?
Yeah. This is not very sweet. And I'm not a sweet. I don't like sweets very much. So yeah, kind of sweet and savory. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I agree. But when we did the Yeti chocolate tasting, so my husband is a huge chocolate fan, and they were delicious. And I'm also not a big sweet fan, but they were really good, especially with wine. So
yeah.
Really well. So
I love chocolate. I'm a chocoholic. Any kind of, who's selling chocolates now is D'Olivio.
I saw that.
Oh, I saw that. Yes.
Yeah. And I bought some. They had some at Christmas. They just bring them. They don't sell them all the time, but they just bring them out for holidays. And man, you guys, I highly recommend them. They're really good.
Are they locally made or are they imported? Because I can't tell if they were from somewhere else.
They are from somewhere else. D'Olivio purchases them from someplace else. I don't know exactly where, but yeah, but they're very good. Yeah, we had some over Christmas. So
we've got 1 minute, guys, before we start. Just make sure you've got your wine ready to go. Wilma's hitting the water.
I'm drinking water because I ate that sweet stuff, and I guess so. It's kind of
good to have a glass of water.
It's in my palate, so I can actually taste the wine. How's that?
Yeah.
Last time I went wine tasting, I brushed my teeth before I left the house, which good for probably everyone around me. But oh man, I'm telling you, wine and toothpaste, not a good combination.
Mint. Yeah.
That's like someone answered the question that we were asking there in the chat.
They did. Yep, she believes they came from the Tri-Cities. So.
Oh, the chocolates too. Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's good to know.
We're gonna have to
Thanks,
ask.
Renee. All right. I'm gonna kick us off. I'm very punctual, 5 o'clock, because we have an hour and 6 wines. So let me get this set here. I'd like to welcome everyone. I'm Kenny Sturgeon, the Executive Director of the Wenatchee Valley Museum and Cultural Center. I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight for this wine and cheese tasting event with Jones of Washington and the Cheesemonger. And happy Valentine's Day, everyone.
Yay.
Before we get started, I want to take a moment to thank Jones and the Cheesemonger for partnering with us for this event. They have generously donated a portion of the proceeds from tonight's event to the museum. So also thank you all who bought the tickets for tonight to this event and for participating with us at home. I'd like to say hi to all of our members out there who have joined us tonight. If you're not already a member of the museum, I invite you to join us. We've got virtual events, online classes, and virtual tours, and we are open for visiting by appointment right now. And we've just as of Tuesday, we'll be expanding the number of people who can come by appointment. So check it out online on our website. You can also give us a call and we can set that for you. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that the Wenatchee Valley Museum and Cultural Center is located on the traditional homelands of the Pisquosa. We acknowledge the traditional lands and offer respect and gratitude to the Pisquosa and to the diverse indigenous peoples that reside in North Central Washington today. Here at the museum, our job is to gather with our community, to engage and to educate. And sometimes what the community really needs is to meet over a great glass of wine and some yummy cheese. I'd like to introduce you to our other hosts tonight. The first is Wilma Cartagena from the museum's board of directors. Wilma is new to the museum's board this year, though she has been an active advocate and supporter of the museum over the years, and she is one of our best MCs for Multicultural Fest I've ever seen. You go. Wilma and I are joined tonight by Pybus Marcus Jones of Washington's tasting room manager, Casey Kwok, and Finn Hardecker from Cheesemonger. While we taste, Casey and Finn will help us to learn more about wine, more about their varietals, little about cheese making, I hope, because I love cheese, and how to pair the two best. Casey.
Okay, well, hello everyone. So happy to be here. Thank you to the museum for inviting us to be a part of this really fun wine and cheese tasting. The most important thing that that everybody should do tonight is to have fun. Number one, it's Valentine's Day. And maybe learn a little bit about pairing, but the number one rule tonight is to have fun and be adventurous and experiment. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I have been the tasting room manager at Jones of Washington since 2013 when Pybus Market first opened. The Jones of Washington and the Cheesemonger we've paired before in doing cheese and wine tasting classes. Before the pandemic, they were actually in person. This is actually our first virtual tasting. So that'll be kind of fun. I'm excited to do that. So a little bit about Jones of Washington. So Jones of Washington is a local winery based out of Quincy. The Jones family are longtime Quincy farmers that have been in the area since, as I said, since the 1950s. Jack Jones was our founder. And in the early 1990s, he decided that he wanted to branch out from being a potato and onion farmer, into orchards and vineyards. Mm-hmm. And that was proven to be he was a very visionary guy that knew that that North Central Washington was going to be a premier grape growing region, which it certainly has come to fruition in now, as we can see. Our two areas that we grow our grapes in are primarily the AVA of Ancient Lakes, which is in Quincy, and also the Wahluke Slope, which is in Mattawa, and that is where our wine production facility is. We also have a tasting room in Quincy, of course, that was our original tasting room, and then of course our tasting room at Pybus Market. So once again, tonight's all about fun and tasting delicious cheese. Finn and I had some fun pairing the cheese with the wine, and we have some unusual pairings tonight and some ones that sort of go along with the rules. So it'll be interesting to see what you guys all think too.
There are rules.
Well, there's a few rules that go along with it, but you can throw the rules out, right, Finn?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah, that's for sure.
Rules usually.
Okay, so a little housekeeping. So hopefully everybody's got their Jones of Washington tasting kit, and the tasting kit is the way we have it arranged. You should have tasting notes. I think you can kind of see those. That is the order of wine that we're going to be tasting. The Sauvignon Blanc is the first. The Malbec will be the last. We typically taste white to red. And then the cheese pairing. Ben, do you want to talk a little bit about what's in your cheese pairing?
Yeah, cheese pairing is going to be basically the same way. It's got, it's in order of what you're going to pair it with. So everything should be lined up perfectly. There should be little labels for each one on there. I realize now that I didn't throw in toothpicks for anybody, but don't worry, because I believe that cheese is best tasted with your hands. So I think everything's going to work out all right.
I am so glad to hear you say that. I was telling everyone before we started that all I could find that was pointy in my whole house is a meat thermometer. So I'm going to give that a go and see how it worked.
I like using your fingers. All right. It's also nice. I know that Wilma has water. If you want to get a little glass of water, that's awesome, because what that will do is that, you know, cleanses your palate in between tastings. If you don't have one, that's okay. If you also have like a neutral cracker or breadstick to sort of, you know, neutralize your palate, that's great too. But once again, if you don't, it's not a deal breaker, that's for sure. Hopefully nobody has, like Kenny was talking about earlier, nobody has brushed their teeth, because brushing your teeth is the worst thing for tasting wine and cheese. So mint is the enemy of wine and cheese. So no mint.
She is so right. Do not do that.
Yeah, really. And coffee is right behind it. So anyway, okay. So on to our pairings. So some basic wine characteristics that you'll to help you find favorites when you're tasting wine is, number one, you always want to be cognizant of sweetness. And we measure that in wine by residual sugar. Most of the white wines you're going to taste tonight are dry. I don't have any wines that have a little bit more residual sugar, like Riesling. You also are going to, we're going to talk a lot about acidity, and in the cheese actually, and in the wine. And the acidity is when you taste wine, you get sort of that little soury, lemonade-y taste kind of in your mouth, you know, it makes you salivate. Tannins, which you primarily find in red wines. And they're kind of misunderstood, because tannins are actually a good thing, but they do make your mouth taste dry. And some people like that and some people do not. But the red wines you're going to be tasting tonight some have a little bit higher tannins than others. And that does add to the cheese pairing experience as well. We'll talk about that. Fruit is another aspect of wine that a lot of people are aware of that. So when we talk about sticking your nose in the wine and tasting the wine bouquet and the aromas, you know, some of the first things that people usually come up with is fruit. Oh, I smell cherry, or I smell blackberry or blueberry or plum. So that's another characteristic that you want to be aware of as we're going through this. And then last one is body, and that's mouthfeel. So is the wine like tasting when you're swishing it around your mouth? Does it taste like milk, or not taste, but does the mouth feel like milk, like you're drinking milk? So that's going to be a fuller bodied wine, or is it lighter, like water? So you know, so those are things to kind of keep in mind as you're tasting tonight. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it. So let's start Sauvignon Blanc.
So Tracy, really quick, I'm sorry to interrupt for just a minute and let all of our participants know, feel free to ask questions, feel free to use the chat. You can also use the Q&A feature. Chat, I'll probably see Q&A. One of my colleagues will shoot me a text and let me know that there's something in there. So just ask whatever you want.
Interrupt. We're just talking. So
yep.
Yes. Do you have
I just want to remind everybody that if you need ice, this cute little tub, you can just put ice in it and keep your white wines cold.
Yeah, that's good.
Brilliant.
Okay. That's brilliant. Love it.
That's how I do it.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to jump in and talk a little bit about the wine, the particular wine varietal, and then we're going to pass it over to Finn, and he's going to talk about the cheese and how that pairs with wine, and we'll jump in. And if you have any questions, just ask, or, you know, tell us what you think. So the first one is our Sauvignon Blanc, and that is a 2019 vintage. This little wine has very good acidity. So first of all, you want to kind of swirl the wine in your glass, and I'm going to show you. You just want to swirl, but you know, a good thing to do is to swirl it on the table, like Wilma's doing, because then what that does is it releases the alcohol, and when you stick your nose in it, you're going to be able to really smell the fruit or whatever aromas you're thinking that you do gain from that. So the swirling is good for reds and whites because it blows off the alcohol. This wine is clear when you look at it. You know, sometimes I have people hold up, if you have a blank, you know, that blank piece of paper, you can hold up the wine and to the paper. There we go. So you can see that the color of it is more of a straw, like a light straw color. Is the clarity, you look at the clarity of the wine, is it clear? You shouldn't be seeing things floating in your wine. That's not a good thing. You want to see, you know, it to be really, really crystal clear. Also the body. So as we talked about earlier. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to We looked at the color, we looked at the clarity. So now let's stick our nose into it and see what we smell. And really stick your nose in there. So don't be afraid to not put that nostril right in there, because
some of us need a bigger glass.
Yes, that's true. Exactly. So what I get right off the bat, and it actually is in your tasting kit, is I get the lemongrass. And if you smell and you continue to smell, don't be afraid to not smell a lot, because the smelling is the part of the enjoyment of the wine tasting process, is the smell. So when you're out tasting, always stick your nose in it, because you're gonna have more fun, and it's gonna be a better thing for your tasting experience. So anybody, what else do you get off of this? Anybody?
I get the citrus, but there's something sweet. I'm not quite sure what.
Yes.
What it
kind
is.
Of a sweeter.
Like an undertone that's kind of sweet.
Yeah. So these notes are from the winemaker, and he's got such a sophisticated palate that he can come up with things that I can never taste. But and as well as the aromas, in the bouquet. So he says that this has got some nectarine in it. So, and that might be what you're getting off of it. Anyway, okay. So the next piece is that let's take a little taste. And you want to swirl that around in your mouth, and you can so this wine has high acidity. So that's what's making your mouth pucker a little bit, is the acidity in the wine. And when you pair wine with cheese, then one of the things that I like the best is the acidity with the wine with a saltier cheese, but Finn will get into that a little bit more, so.
Hey, you ready for me?
Yep.
Cool. So the first one that I chose.
The whole wine, you need to tell me what to eat with it. I'll finish.
Yeah, that's what I say. Don't drink all the wine. You got to have the cheese too.
That's all right. The cheese is still gonna be great.
Yeah.
So the first one that I chose is called Montemore, which is an Italian style cheddar, which essentially means that it was made by an Italian, Papa Sartori, from the Sartori family in Wisconsin. So Italian style means that it's got age to it. It was inspired by like the classic Parmigiano Reggiano from Parma in Italy. So when you try it, and it is best to kind of let it sit on your taste buds. I said to let it warm up, but if it's not completely warm, kind of let it sit for a second in your mouth so you can really get the full flavor.
This is a beautiful cheese.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Now, at first, it just kind of tastes like a traditional white cheddar, Tillamook style. But as you let it develop, you notice that there's a little bit of a crunch to it. That's called terracine. Those are bits of calcium and oxygen. Solidifies after you age it for more than 6 to 9 months. And so that's what gives it that crunch. If you look on the outside of it, which it's too late now, but you'll see like a white crust. That's called sodium lactate. So on the outside of the cheese, before you eat it, you'll see the sodium lactate. And then on the inside, it's called terracine. So it's like magma is to lava.
Nice.
You'll get a sweet nutty flavor to it, and it's almost fruity, which I think pairs perfectly. I mean, typically, because there's no added flavors or anything, so it's nice. I like the fruitiness of it.
It's perfect with this wine.
I agree.
Glad it worked out.
And the cheddar isn't cheddar with Sauvignon Blanc isn't like a normal because doesn't typically they say goat cheeses and white cheese.
Yeah. We read up on that a little bit together. But yeah, I mean, and I was basing everything that I learned off of what you would tell me when I let you kind of pair them up, pair them together, and so I'm excited to hear that it works well.
Yeah, it's not. It's
cheese. Yeah. Montemore. Do you know what that means?
I do not actually.
It's perfect. I think it's on love.
Yeah. See, I knew amore. I knew amore was love.
And monte is for mountain or big.
Nice. See, my boss is Italian, and he teaches me a lot of things in Italian, but he doesn't teach me about cheese.
Perfect for today for Valentine's Day.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, excellent.
Sauvignon
Blanc. Perfect.
Oh, that's nice. You know, and what I like about it is the saltiness of it with the acidity. You know, you've got kind of that contrasting flavor, and so it's an unusual pairing, but
I like that it's salty up front and then the fruitiness on the finish, because again, that's not something that you'll like find in like an aged Tillamook cheese or anything like that.
Right.
And those are the Sartori brand is like one of the more popular and well-respected domestic brands, because typically when you get like aged cheddar coming from England, cheddar actually originates from a town called Cheddar in England. And if you look into cheese, you'll find that most everything, Brie, Roquefort, Gouda, it's all regional, and each different region has their own way of making cheese, which is why it's hard to pinpoint one certain style of making cheese, because everything is unique.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But that makes sense, right?
Yep. It's like, you know, grapes are to wine.
Right. Well, what grows together goes together, right?
Yep. Yep, I've heard that a lot. What grows together goes together.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the Montemore.
All right.
Montemore.
Good pairing.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's awesome. One thing I was going to say about the Sauvignon Blanc, one of the Sauvignon Blanc pairs really well with a lot of herbaceous. It's got some herbaceous qualities to it. One of my favorite pairings with Sauvignon Blanc is a quiche with lots of parsley and herbs and fresh herbs in it. Very nice pairing. So try that.
Savory.
Okay, so are we ready to move on to the next wine? And that will be our Pinot Gris.
Okay. I'm excited to see how this goes with the cheese. I have to admit, when my staff first said they wanted to try this made in Wenatchee, my first thing out of my mouth was like, we have to have cheese. And my staff was like, we'll try some other stuff first. I'm like, okay. Let me know when the cheese happens.
I tell you what, that is so true, Kenny. When we did the wine is, Casey, we like the wine, but let's really talk about the cheese. The cheese is always like the number uno.
Yeah, and if anybody has any further questions about cheese, you just shout them out, and I am here to answer them.
Okay, well, are we ready to move on to the Pinot Gris?
Yeah.
Okay, so Pinot Gris is another lovely dry white. Once again, if we were to look at it in the light, we can see it's also like a light straw color, also very clear, shouldn't have any impurities in it. So you want to swirl that around to release the alcohol. So when you get ready to take a smell, because wine tasting is all about the senses. You don't want to be in a hurry. You want to be able to take your time. And that's one of the beauty of tasting wine with cheese. Also, it's all about what, the senses, and what you're seeing and tasting and smelling. So
can I ask a question about the glass for your work? Because we always hear that, you should use this glass for this type of wine and that glass for that other type of wine. Does that really makes a difference, or it's just a preference?
Yeah, it does. Strangely enough, it does. And Wilma, I didn't think that till I took a Riedel class. So Riedel, what I have is a Riedel wine. It's sort of the gold standard for wine drinking.
Okay.
Someone has been on the So the Riedel glass. So it does make a difference. And I would not have believed that until I took the class. And the proper shape of the glass matters to have the enjoyment of the wine. Oh, and so if we ever, Wilma, if we ever offer a Riedel class again,
I think come learn about it.
You'll have to come.
That's got to be a preference.
Yes, it was amazing. And, we're going to work on that once we can all get together again, because that was one of the best classes I think we've offered was the Riedel class.
Great.
So we'll do that again. But yes, it does make a difference. But, we at Jones, we have a basic red and white tasting glass, and because it can get very expensive to do, a Chardonnay glass and a Pinot Gris glass and things like that.
Kenny has a one without a stem, right?
If I have big wine glasses, like I'm actually supposed to drink, like particularly red wines out of, I will fill it so much further than I should probably be drinking. So I started drinking at home through much smaller glasses just because I know me. And so I thought, oh, well, it's gonna be easier to taste them if I have them here.
That's what they say when you're trying to lose weight. You know, you use smaller plates, smaller glasses, smaller everything.
Drink 5 or 6 of full ones of these. So what? No. But and I also thought for this whole like moving things around for this event that having one without a stem might be helpful for me.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. And we sell stemless plastic glasses that are great. Take them out on your boat, out on the deck, around the pool. Excellent. But for the most part, when you want to do tasting wine, you want to have a wine glass. And as I say, it does make a difference. I'll work on that Riedel class. So
Good. Let us know.
Thank you.
I will. You bet. Okay, so we ready to, I think our wine has been swirled. And so let's take this is our 2018 Pinot Gris. So what do you, I know what I get right off the nose. Anybody what do you guys think, Kenny?
I think apples.
Yeah, definitely apples. And maybe I always get on a lot of the Jones Whites some pear and stone fruit sometimes on the nose, because often what you get in the nose isn't what you're going to get on the palate. So sometimes they can be completely different. So it's always fun to do that. So let's take a sip.
This has always been my favorite.
The Pinot Gris. It's a lot of people's favorite.
Yeah.
And it
really,
you can barely feel it. It's just
light.
Yeah.
It feels so different than the previous one.
Yeah, it is. It is not as acidic. It's lighter. It's got a little more stone fruit on the palate. But definitely some apple too. Good call on those.
Some citrus, maybe some grapefruit or something citrusy.
A little bit of citrus on there. Yep. Yeah, it's the Pinot Gris is a by the way, Pinot Gris and Pinot Grigio, we sometimes get that question in the tasting room, are the same wine. It's just the difference in the winemaking. Pinot Gris is French method. Pinot Grigio is Italian. So
interesting.
That's good to know. I just
just a little factoid
there.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful.
All right, Finn, what have we got?
Yeah.
So for the cheese, we got the American original, Humboldt Fog. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Humboldt Fog. It comes out of Northern California in Humboldt County.
I think I've had it before when I was at a cheese shop in Humboldt, actually.
Really? So you've been to Humboldt County?
Yeah, I grew up in California, so.
Super cool. So you probably know then that cheese is widely regarded as maybe being Humboldt County's second finest export.
Gosh.
But if you take a look at it, you'll see like what almost looks like blue in it, and that's not actually blue. What they do is it's a soft ripened goat's milk cheese with a layer of vegetable ash in the middle. So I'm sure on a few of the pieces you'll see what looks to be blue, but don't worry, it's not mold. We'll get to that later. That is just edible beet ash, to be specific. And what they do that for is to separate the morning milking from the night milking. And it being goat's milk cheese, naturally it's going to have a little bit of a tang to it. As far as goat's milk cheese goes, this is more on the mild side. It doesn't have too much of a barnyard flavor, which is super common with goat's milk cheese. And you may notice also, and again, this is going to be piece by piece, but sometimes you'll get a piece that has a little bit of a creamy texture to it, whereas most of it's crumbly. And that's because when it's soft ripened, the closer you get to the bloomy rind, it's going to get creamier. It's also going to get tangier. So if you do happen to have a piece that's
mine is really creamy, very
so
creamy. I love that creaminess of it.
Perfect. Yeah.
But
so that's going to have
a little bit more salty and.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to have a lot more of that tang to it. Yeah, and you're more than welcome to give it a whirl.
Outstanding.
Yeah. I love this pairing.
It's good.
I like the creaminess of it, like what Wilma was saying. And the softness of it. It's not super salty.
Yeah, it's something that's good for like sprinkling on top of like a salad or and it's got quite a strength to it, so it's good in smaller doses. That being said,
in the macaroni and cheese, I will put that in macaroni and cheese. That will be so tasty. It's creamy.
Everything goes in mac and cheese.
Definitely.
You can put any cheese on macaroni and cheese, if it's good.
Oh yeah.
It's just macaroni and cheese. It's just great.
That's like the extent of my, fancy cheese cooking. fancy grilled cheese sandwiches and fancy mac and cheese.
Yeah.
This
So
with you.
Finn, is this a sheep cheese?
is a goat's milk cheese.
That's a goat's milk cheese.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between goat's milk and sheep milk cheese?
So goat's milk tends to be more on the gamier, for lack of a better word, the gamier, tangier side, whereas sheep's milk tends to be softer and sweeter. I don't think I included any sheep's milk in this lineup, but we offer free samples all the time. So if anybody wants to stop by the cheese shop, either in Leavenworth or in Pybus Market, you are more than welcome to try one out. I highly recommend the Euphoria.
And I would encourage everyone to do this. As I was telling Finn before we got started, and when I picked up the stuff yesterday, I watched this little boy who I swear tried every single cheese they had in the case, just little tastes. They did buy some eventually, but oh, he was so happy.
We try to accommodate everybody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That was
Yeah,
good.
this is a nice pairing.
Mhm.
Mm.
Agreed.
So the Pinot, just a little bit more about the Pinot Gris. So it, this really, one of my favorite pairings with Pinot Gris is fruit salad. So the Pinot Gris goes great with fresh vegetables. It's light, grilled fish, grilled chicken. Pinot Gris is a good choice of that, but I really like it with fresh, a fresh fruit salad. So you might try
Nice.
that too. So
Yeah, we drink a lot of it when it's warmer, obviously, but when we grill salmon,
yeah,
it's really nice with that.
it's nice with salmon. So one of our most popular wines at Jones. We sell a ton of Pinot Gris. People love it. So
Mhm.
okay, are we ready to move on to the Viognier?
You bet. And this is one of my favorite wines that you
Your
guys sell
favorite?
in the white Rhine range. So
Yes,
I'm excited
great.
for this
It's
one.
never been a favorite of mine, Viognier. I don't know why, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna give this one a try. And see.
Okay, you give
I
us
will
a
let you
try.
know.
So this is a new.
You'll enjoy it. Ever since I learned how to pronounce it, it's one of my favorites.
Viognier.
I went somewhere once, they told me, I was like, Vogue, how do you say it? And the woman's like, Viognier. And I'm like,
Viognier.
She goes, like mayonnaise, only not. It's like,
Viognier.
mayonnaise,
Yep.
Viognier. It's like, okay, got it. Thanks.
Those French words really, drive you
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
So. Anyway, so this is our 2019 Viognier. These grapes are grown on the Wahluke Slope down in Mattawa. Once again, if we look at the color, most of the wines that we've chosen tonight are that light straw pale color, very clear in the glass. I've had people say, oh my gosh, your wine looks like water. And some of our wines actually do. They're so crystal clear, which is what is a desirable trait in wine. You don't want to see anything in your white wine. In the red wines, sometimes you might get sediment, and that's okay. It's not going to hurt you to find sediment. It's not particularly lovely in your mouth. We try to screen that out, but not in whites. You don't want to see that. So this is a nice clear wine. This one Viognier is a little bit, it's got some oak to it. It's a little more full bodied than the two prior. So see when you take a taste, if you can tell the difference in the mouthfeel. So. The oaking gives it a little bit more of a creamier, bigger mouthfeel. So it's not quite as like water as the other two. And so it's just a different feel. Forgot to smell. So anybody, if you have a chance to smell, we got a little bit out of order there. So yeah, so the Viognier. So Wilma, what do you think? Since this isn't one of your favorites, what do you think?
Fruity.
Fruity? Yep.
Maybe that's why that. But I felt it more in the back of my throat, this one, than the other ones.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you finished, yeah, the finish of it, it's got a little bit longer finish. It's a little bit bigger. We call it a bigger wine. So, yeah, it's this, as I say, this is 70% when it's fermented. In the barrels, it's 70% stainless steel, and then 30% oak. And so that oaking imparts a little bit of fullness and structure to the wine that you don't see in those others. So it's got low residual sugar, medium acidity. It isn't quite as high as the Sauvignon Blanc, and that's why you don't get that tartness in it. It's a little creamier feel. anyway, Viognier is an interesting wine. Not quite as popular as the Pinot Gris, but it's one I always like to take out and about and have people try, because you don't see it everywhere. Although you are seeing a little bit more these days, but it is a little bit more of an unusual varietal. So
I really like it. Because I'm just thinking, when we did this wine tasting, you and I did a wine tasting early on.
Yes.
And I think you had a Viognier too, but I think it was the previous year.
It was
2018. Yeah,
2019.
They taste slightly different.
They do. And that is so true. Glad you brought that up, Kenny. So every year, people will say, oh my gosh, do you have any of the 2016 whatever? And I'll say, yeah, but I can't guarantee that next year is going to be the same. We sometimes do something called a vertical tasting, where you get the same varietal. Say you have a Cabernet Sauvignon, and then you do it 1 year right after another. So you have a 13, a 14, and a 15, and you get a taste. And it is so it's so fun because you can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Just tasting those wines one right after another. And if you ever have a chance to do that at a winery, ask to see if they have that, those vertical tastings, because it's really a lot of fun. We're getting ready to do one here when we're open up, of a vertical tasting of our cabs. So that should be really fun. So
I will be in line to do that.
Yes, it's really fun. If you haven't had a chance to do it, it's a lot of fun.
Because it's always so hard to judge, because if you drink something and then you don't for a while, and then it's the next year, but you're like, oh, I can't remember if that was even the same year before.
I know. And so who's that, people sometimes, if they're very much into being a wine nerd, they'll keep all kinds of spreadsheets about their wine and all of that, but I'm not like that. But I do know some years I like the wine better than others. And it's just
interesting.
It is interesting. I think it has to do with the weather and also the winemaking process. So
great. So Finn, how's our cheese?
So the cheese that I chose for this one is a very popular soft ripened triple cream cow's milk cheese coming out of France, called Saint Andre, coming out of the Normandy region of France. So it's triple cream, so it's gonna have a really light and buttery flavor, but super pronounced, and it's got a 75% butterfat content. That's why they call it triple cream. So what you do to create a triple cream cheese is, before you finish aging it, you add heavy cream, which it took me quite some time to realize that that's how you did it. But it's pretty easy. So the same kind of deal, the closer you get to the rind, it gets a little bit creamier. And the rind on this one is edible. I tried to avoid putting rind pieces in there just because it does have quite a bit of tang, and I don't want to split any crowds or anything. But yeah.
It works well with this wine, though. I like it. It takes, I don't know how to describe it, but it can also balance it out.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with Renee in our chat, who says it's amazing. This cheese is amazing.
It's really good.
It's very good. And yeah, that's one of the ones that is definitely it's a whole lot better if you let that one come up to room temperature.
I hope people forgive me that I'm licking my fingers. I don't have a toothpick, so the mess is so creamy.
Next time I'll include
makes it taste better.
It's okay.
Yeah, so the Saint Andre is super popular too. I mean, you could find that in other places if you fall in love with it.
I love this.
And again, the rind is edible, and it kind of has a whole different flavor profile. So it's like eating a different cheese.
So
which is super cool. Because a lot of things, don't even have edible rinds in that one. Whereas the cheese is super light and buttery with like a mild saltiness.
It is.
The rind is bitey and tangy.
Yeah, very good.
And it's really a good pairing with the Viognier, because Viognier is a tricky wine to pair cheese with. Right, Finn? We were talking about that.
Yeah, that was the one we were kind of struggling with.
We struggled a little bit.
I think I like it. So when I go to Jones and buy the Viognier, I'm going to have to go next door and buy
the triple cream brie.
The triple,
perfect,
because it will make my experience so much better.
Yes, it will. You'll like the wine there.
I like it.
And it's so true that, right, Finn, the wine, if you have people like the wine and the cheese better together, sometimes they do separately. Yeah, it's a very interesting phenomenon.
So it makes a difference.
Yeah, it's very interesting, because I say the Viognier is a little tricky to pair with, but so Finn, I have a question for you.
Lay it on me.
So do you, when you have the triple cream brie, would you consider that more of a neutral cheese?
Definitely.
Definitely. And so would you ever, and maybe not paired with a Viognier, but maybe another wine, would you ever use like pepper jelly or fig?
Yeah, so with the Saint Andre, because
with
it's
that particular cheese?
yeah, because it's so light, and even going back to the Montemore too, because it's got such like a mild fruitiness to it. That's something you could do. I definitely recommend sweeter stuff over like salami pairings, like on a plain cracker with like you said, a pepper jelly. Some good ones that we carry are the Kelly's brand habanero pepper jellies, which habanero sounds intimidating at first, but the sweetness, I mean, they have Marionberry flavored habanero pepper jelly, which is my personal favorite, and they pair perfectly together. And we do also have like, Dalmatia fig spreads, which is another really good pairing.
I'm gonna have to try that. That sounds
amazing. And you would do that with a triple cream brie, right?
I would definitely do that with a triple.
You wouldn't do that with all the cheeses, but like a triple cream brie. What else would you do that with? Like another neutral cheese?
Of our lineup right here, I would do it with the Montemore and the Saint Andre. The other ones are pretty bold.
Yeah, they are. So then you wouldn't want to do that with that. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think because I love your pepper jellies,
Yeah, and they're all super good. But if you do happen to stop by, I highly recommend the Marionberry.
Yes. So there you go, Wilma.
I know. I had to remember that I had to go ask for triple
cream brie.
Triple cream brie. I think I'm drunk already. I'm sorry.
If you come and I'm working, I'll remember it for you.
Brie and the pepper jelly and Viognier. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to write it down somewhere. I'm not gonna remember tomorrow.
We have a board meeting tomorrow. I'll remind you.
Yeah. Tomorrow is Tuesday.
Yeah. No. Yes. Tomorrow's Monday. Never mind.
Tomorrow's Monday. Yeah. I'm not working and not doing board meetings.
Oh my gosh. So just a little, so this Viognier as an aside is tricky to pair with, as I said, with cheese, but boy, is it a good wine with seafood. So Kenny, you were talking about how Viognier with any kind of seafood is super, super good.
Excellent.
I was thinking that a paella will be excellent with this wine.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I bet that would be. So what goes into a paella again?
Well, it depends. It mostly is seafood, but it's your arborio and your seafood, and it's very savory, very well seasoned, and it could also have chorizo. So you need a bold white wine that is, that lingers a little bit. It takes away some of that seafood, the seafood.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah,
and it just mellows it out. So that will be my next pairing, I guess.
Yes. Well, the Viognier is excellent
with the triple cream brie.
Yeah, the triple cream brie. Oh, okay. So moving on to our next pairing is we're going to jump into the reds. So if you have a chance to take a drink of water, cleanse your palate, if you have a neutral cracker, if you could, have that as well. I'm going to take a drink of water.
Have some almonds.
Because something to kind of take away the white wine flavor that you have.
The cheeses get a little bit more intense. From here
yes, they are definitely going to get more intense as we go on. So
I'm going to use another glass too because that way I don't mix it with the white.
I did the same thing.
So the next wine we're going to be tasting is our 16 Cabernet Franc.
Ooh.
And I'm going to make a really bold statement about this wine. This might be one of the best Cab Francs that I think Jen. What's that?
Okay.
This 16 Cab Franc is absolutely delicious. It is so well balanced. It's between fruit and acidity and tannins. It's just an absolutely lovely wine. And not everybody is familiar with Cabernet Franc as a varietal, but it's an excellent varietal and grows really well in this area. So if you ever have a chance when you go to other wineries to taste a Cab Franc, do taste it because they'll all be different. So our particular Cab Franc grapes are grown on the Wahluke Slope, which is down, as I said, down in Mattawa. Long growing season, hot days, sandy loam soil, great for growing red grapes. This is 16 months in French oak barrels. So we haven't really talked about oaking much because most of the whites We had a couple that had light oak, but the French oak imparts a spiciness, but a subtle flavor to the wine so the barrel that you put your red wine in is going to make a difference on the flavor profile. So anyway, that is in 16 months in French oak. As we go along, these wines, the red wines, are going to be a little bit higher in alcohol. So most of them are going to be 14-15% alcohol. The reds tend to be a little bit higher in alcohol than the whites do. And so let's take a look. Deep red color, really pretty against, if you can take a look at it, it's almost a ruby color. Once again, if you look at the clarity of it, it's going to, if you hold it up to the light, you can see once again, no sediment there. Swirl it around because you want to definitely, if you haven't decanted your wines, you want to make sure that you do a lot of swirling because you want to make sure that that alcohol is blown off of the wine before you stick your nose in it. Okay, so this is our Cabernet 2016 Cab Franc. So anybody want to say what you get off the nose?
You definitely get that woodsy, earthy,
woody, leathery, yes.
So I have to admit, I cheated and read the notes because I was smelling something and I was like, what is that?
Yes.
It's dill.
Ah, dill.
And the winemaker called, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what that smell is.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Once you get into wine, it's so fun to see what you actually can get from the wine. And, you know, the tasting notes are kind of a crutch to look at, but sometimes, a lot of times they work because you go, oh, what is that smell? And then you see the tasting notes, you go, okay, that's what I smell. Because sometimes it's hard to put words to what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, swirl.
Yep. Renee in the chat says plums. Totally agree with her.
Definitely plums.
Smells
definitely
so
plums. It's got a lovely, lovely nose on it. And I get a little bit of just a little bit of some mocha on this too.
I'm going to drink now. I hope you're okay with that.
Yes, please drink. Yeah, we're getting close to time. We need to move along here. So sorry, I talked too much. So
that's good.
Nice.
Nice wine. This Cab Franc is great. So, okay, Finn, so what do you think?
All right. So what I think we decided to pair with the Cab Franc is the Applewood smoked cheddar, which this is where it gets quite a bit stronger.
Yeah.
This is another classic. This comes out of Ilchester in England. It's, you know, one of the longest lasting cheddars that they make over there. You notice a reddish hue on your piece of cheese. That's because it's coated in a mild paprika, which gives it a nice bite on the finish.
I think I messed my cheeses up.
Uh-oh.
No,
That's okay.
That might be right.
No rules.
Yeah, right. As long as you're enjoying the cheese, then that's what matters.
Good. Okay.
So it's got a really intense smokiness to it, and that's in part because they add a liquid smoke to it as well, an Applewood smoke flavoring. And
it tastes like salami.
You say?
It tastes like salami.
Yeah, a lot of people think that it tastes like bacon because Applewood is
that's
very.
why I like it.
Yeah,
it tastes like
Applewood
bacon.
is a very popular smoke that's used on bacon, and so I mean, how could you go wrong? And I feel like all the other ones that we have tried so far are ones that you would pair with sweeter things, like, you know, you mentioned earlier pepper jellies, fig spreads, putting it on like salads and fruit salads and stuff like that. And this one is definitely like burger cheese.
Yeah, you need
you know, salami cheese.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be good in a charcuterie board with your salami and your prosciutto.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This is one of my personal favorite pairings.
This is delicious.
Love the pairing of the Cab Franc with the Applewood smoked cheddar. So Finn, do you think most cheddar cheeses go well with the red wine?
Based on the extensive research that I've done on wine pairings, yes, I would think so. I'm just waiting for the day.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, in all honesty.
Excellent. You did excellent. Those are delicious.
Yeah. And I think the Applewood smoked cheddar is, if you like a heartier red, and which the Cab Franc is definitely a heartier red with that heartier cheese. Yeah,
Nice.
super good, particularly when
you
it's.
pair the Merlot with it too.
You could definitely. Our Merlot is a little bit lighter in body than our Cab Franc, but it would be a good, any red wine would go well with that.
With that looks like.
Yeah, it would be really good.
Very interesting cheese.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one is actually the best-selling cheese that we had carried.
Really, the Applewood.
Clocking in at around 9,000 pounds sold last year. It's a lot of weight in cheese weight.
Mm,
That's
Wow.
crazy. 9,000 pounds of cheese. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know, right?
a lot of
Yeah.
cheese.
Wow. So a little tidbit about Cab Franc. Once again, Cab Franc is great. It's got some herbaceous notes to it, and it's great for meatballs, pork roast, barbecue. Cab Franc is great with barbecued hamburgers. So if you're ever thinking, you want to have a barbecue this summer, pull out some Cab Franc and you'll be happy that you did. So
I was just thinking one of the go-to summer meats that I make is a slow cooker Kahlua pork. And
oh yeah.
it's a Hawaiian recipe, so it's just liquid smoke and
Yep.
salt and pork shoulder for 20 hours in the slow cooker, and
Wow.
that wine and that cheese would be amazing with it.
That would be amazing. That would be an
You can
amazing
do that and
thing.
invite all of us to try it, just to make
Yeah.
sure.
You got it.
Yeah, well, now I'm really
I hear a
hungry.
board retreat.
Just to
Board
make
retreat.
sure that it pairs well.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay, so I think we're ready to, in the interest of time, we're going to move along here. So the 2016 Carmenere is next.
So I'm really glad that you chose this wine, Casey, because I've been picking up wine randomly at Jones since we've all been in lockdown, because why not? And this one I keep picking up and putting back because I'm just not sure if I'm going to like it or not. So I'm super
Yes.
excited you chose this.
Yes, so Carmenere is an interesting wine. It's
Interesting.
a wine that is not widely known. It's a varietal that is not widely known. It's been called a mystery grape. Most of the grapes are grown in Chile. Started in Bordeaux. They had a severe aphid attack, killed all of the Carmenere grapes in Bordeaux, France in the 1800s. And it shows up back in Chile. They don't know how it got there. They thought it was Merlot. Ends up being Carmenere. So Carmenere grows very well in the state of Washington. We grow ours down on the Wahluke Slope. It's dark burgundy in color, but it is a different wine. It's not a wine that a lot of people are familiar with.
Yeah.
And it has a particular flavor profile that not everybody loves, frankly. People either love it or maybe you can just leave it. So we'll see what you think tonight. So,
It has a really distinctive smell too.
it does.
Peppery.
It does.
I smell habanero chile.
Yes, and it's green pepper. The
Green
pepper is
pepper.
predominant. Yes.
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
this wine.
Renee in our chat says it's one of her favorite local Carmenieres. So
Thank you.
so glad we're
Thank you,
tasting it.
Renee. Yeah, awesome.
Salud, Rene.
Yeah. So really a lovely wine. So
Ooh, you taste that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's really nice.
yeah,
So thank you.
yes.
So I will know
Add
when
a
I
little
go into
spice
next
to
time in
it.
Jones.
Medium body. Nice with once again any kind of beef dish. Once again good with pork. Really, all of these reds that you're going to be tasting are going to be good.
Sharon says it would be really great with a grilled steak.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think so.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Little bit leaner cuts, carne asada would be good with. It has a little bit lower tannins than like the Cab Franc.
Oh yeah,
So
that would be delicious.
you don't need the fat in there to cut those tannins. So
And carne asada is one of my favorites. As my husband will tell you, every time we go out, I always look at the entire menu and then he's like, what are you going to get? And then he looks at me, he's like, why am I even asking? You're gonna get carne asada. No,
They
yes.
do have good carne asada here in town, by the way.
Yeah.
so,
The restaurants are
so
good.
next time you order, or you make carne asada, have a bottle of Jones Carmenere.
You know what? I suggest that Jones put out a barbecue pit outside in that area in the summer.
Good idea.
And
With
go
mac and
out.
cheese next door.
Yeah, there we go. What do you think, Finn? We
I
could
love
just,
it.
Yeah, we could do a barbecue pit. That would
Yeah,
go
yeah,
really
yeah.
well.
I think people will love it.
The smell alone will draw people in.
Oh yeah. So what's our cheese for this one, Ben?
So the cheese for this one is one of my favorites, so I'm pretty excited. This is called Old Amsterdam. It's a 1.5 to 2 year age Gouda coming out of Westland Creamery, which is in Gouda in Holland. It's got a lot of the terracine buildup that we talked about in the
I
first.
love Gouda. It's one of my
it's
favorite cheese.
and this one's nice because it's just like it's according to my cheese magazine that I subscribe to, it is considered the authority when it comes to Gouda.
Oh my God, this is
Oh, it's really nice.
That's really a different cheese
I love this
than
one.
the other ones. What am I tasting in this, Finn?
So there's no added flavors or anything like that. It's just traditional Gouda made in the traditional Dutch fashion, which we're a little pressed on time. I can tell you, they squeeze all the way out and then they brine it. And for this one, they brine it for about a year.
It's really good.
And so you'll notice
I
the same
pineapple in
crystals.
this, but that's just probably because I drank too much already.
Notice that there's the same kind of crunch that there was in the first one. That's the terracine. Typically, when you age cheese for more than 6 months, you get that kind of calcium terracine buildup. And another little fun fact for you is this is made with cow's milk. But if you happen to know anybody who's lactose intolerant, a lot of times people come to me and they say they're lactose intolerant and they can't try cheese. I'm like, well, once you age cheese past 9 months, then the lactose is naturally aged out of it.
Really?
Cheese is lactose free. Yeah, so if you have lactose intolerant friends, have them try it. They get all the pleasure of Gouda without all the pain.
No kidding.
I heard that before about very aged cheeses that are much better for people with lactose intolerance and IBS.
Really?
We're talking about that in the wine tasting, but yeah.
Guys,
I did not know that.
Yeah, so
not the same if you just use like a regular slice, regular cheese.
Yeah.
But the aged cheeses especially.
Well,
yeah,
there's definitely a difference in getting cheese from the cheesemonger as opposed to your local supermarket.
That is true. So. That is true. But Finn, that is so good to hear. My brother is lactose intolerant and has been for decades now. And I always feel slightly guilty because I know growing up he loved all things lactose. And so I'm going to send him some.
We love cheese.
Yeah, please do.
Let's tell the truth. We just love cheese and we love
So
yeah,
Finn,
if there's anybody who can relate, it's the guy who does it for a living.
Hey,
yeah,
Finn,
and it's surprising. It's surprising to hear how many people go so long being lactose intolerant, not knowing that.
Yeah.
Huh. Hey, Finn, I have a question. Why is that cheese? Why do some cheeses have the Old Amsterdam? I don't know if people can see it, but when you buy it, it's got a black plastic covering or waxy covering. Why is that?
So when you age Gouda, it's aged in a brine, which creates like a harder rind. And that black, that's not necessarily wax. That's just like, I don't know the technical word that they use for it, but a lot of times they just put a coating over it, which is like it's wrapping. Like that's what they use to wrap it. Whereas most cheddar styles, they either use a wax. Traditional English cheddars most of the time use a wax. And white cheddars, a lot of times those will shrink wrap them. And the rind is aged naturally, but it's, for the most part, if it's not wax or Gouda rind, like you mentioned, the black covering, it's totally edible. Now it's not edible on the Old Amsterdam. Don't eat the.
No.
Don't eat the black.
No, it doesn't look appetizing, but
yeah, it's most of the time it's like a fiber or a cloth.
Okay.
A lot of times they cloth bound cheese, which is just its natural rind.
Okay.
Yeah, that's more of like a marketing thing.
Excellent. Okay, well, in the interest of time, we're going to jump into the Malbec.
She moved away.
She doesn't know.
You're doing the Merlot, right?
It's a Malbec, isn't it?
Malbec. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a Malbec.
Yes, it's a Malbec.
I needed to read in my glasses one.
Yes. So this is a 2015 Malbec. Once again, grown. This Malbec is actually grown in Ancient Lakes. We do have a few red grape vineyards in Ancient Lakes outside of Quincy. So this Malbec is like drinking velvet. It's so rich and fruity, very low tannins. People who do not like the tannic Cabernets or the Merlots really love Malbec because it's soft, it's fruity, it's rich tasting, and it goes great with a variety of foods. Very food-friendly wine. A little bit higher in alcohol. This is all of our wines, by the way, are 100% varietal. We're not cut with anything else.
Okay.
And this is French oaked, like what I said before about the French oaking, gives a little bit of spiciness, but very subtle flavors, unlike American oak, which is more bold.
It smells fantastic.
Yeah, it's got a lot of fruit on the aroma, and even better on the palate.
Nice. That is really fruity.
I like this one.
Very fruit forward, but not a fruit bomb. It's really just fruity and nice and soft. Easy to drink. We sell a ton of it. So, and this tasting, I just have to say before Finn talks, is that this was the most surprising tasting we've done. And I think Finn suggested this pairing, and I was like, wow, really? And I think it might be my favorite. So we'll see what you guys think. So go for it, Finn.
Yeah, so earlier I was talking about the rind of Humboldt Fog, the creaminess being a crowd splitter, but this one is definitely a crowd splitter. And I know, looking at all the people in here, there's, 16? So I know there's going to be 8 people at home that are going to love this, and there are going to be 8 that are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe I signed up for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this last one we chose is Gorgonzola, which is a blue cheese. And in case you don't know what blue cheese is, it is moldy cheese.
It's moldy.
Yeah.
What they do, this one comes out
Just wait.
Yeah. You got to give it a chance.
You got to give it a try.
So many people shut it down.
Yeah.
And, it is what it is. I'm not going to force anything on you. I personally love blue cheese. I'm an animal.
I will let Wilma decide. I love all things blue cheese. So
Yeah. That's
So do
half
I.
the battle.
All of my favorite cheeses are blue cheese. And I mean, I've been working at a cheese shop for quite some time, so it takes a really strong flavor to really, break through. But when you pair it with the wine, it's exceptional.
I want to try it.
So try it with the Malbec, you guys. And
it's really lovely.
Isn't that lovely?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So what they do to make Italian Mountain Gorgonzola is a certain mold culture is introduced to it in the beginning of the aging process. And they firm it up, press it, then they stick a metal rod through it. So if you have like a whole wheel and you cut it in half, you'll see what looks to be lines of mold going through it. That's where it starts. And all you do is poke a hole through it, and the mold starts naturally growing on its own once the oxygen is introduced to it. And what makes the Italian Mountain Gorgonzola different from all the other blue cheeses that we carry, at least that I've tried, is that it's got a really nice, natural, fruity finish to it. And it's very unique. I mean, I've never had a blue cheese. Typically, you get like just a strong, salty or barnyard flavor.
Right.
Super. I don't get the fruit.
Mold intensive.
Very salty.
Yeah, but I just get like a light. It's really on the finish. I get like a fruit flavor from it. I think it's delicious.
It's a fantastic cheese, Finn. Thank you. And Sharon says in the chat, excellent. I totally agree with her. I do actually a lot with Gorgonzola. I've got like cheese leek pies that I make, and we melt it on grilled steaks, and I just love Gorgonzola. So
that's Gorgonzola.
The Malbec is also, by the way, one of my favorite varietal wine.
Can you believe the pairing of it? I never would have chosen a Gorgonzola with a Malbec, but I think the low tannins in the Malbec and the fruitiness of it with the fruitiness of this cheese, I couldn't believe it, because I thought Gorgonzola with Malbec, no way.
I probably would have gone with like a really sharp aged cheddar.
Which is also really nice, but I think the Gorgonzola is better.
Yeah, we had a couple talks about it where we were talking about, we don't want anybody to feel like they're missing out on something because they go in thinking they don't like blue cheese. And so we decided on a couple other things. Casey tried them out, and I think in the end, we decided that we were just going to go for it and hope that everybody at least gave it a chance.
Yeah.
I hope that everybody's giving it a chance.
I will go for it. And actually, I liked it with the Malbec.
Yes.
Awesome.
Great. Glad to hear that.
A blue cheese burger with this Malbec.
Nice.
The Malbec would be delicious. Good pairing, Wilma. Very good pairing.
So we are wrapping up as we're getting towards the end of time. I do have to ask one question, and it's for Casey, for you. Just I'm always curious. So I drink white wine when it usually is warmer. I don't usually drink it in the winter, but I don't like it chilled.
Yes.
And it always seems to me like it has more flavor when it's not chilled.
That is exactly right.
What's going on, or am I just nuts?
No, you are not nuts. you are absolutely not nuts. And so many people prefer, because when you let your white wine warm to room closer to room temperature, it brings out all the flavors of the white wine. And most of the time you'll taste white wine and it's very, very chilled. But certain varietals really bloom, and you get the aromas and the bouquet. So you're not crazy. It is okay to let your white wine not be completely chilled. Bring it to close to room temperature. And absolutely. And you know, it's okay to have your reds a little bit colder than what you think they are. 60 degrees, 62 degrees is a good place for red wine.
Nice. Can always go hanging out in my snow outside.
So if you don't finish a bottle, how long do they actually keep? I mean, I always wondering, because I'm a one person, I don't like to drink long.
Yep, absolutely. So our rule of thumb is that properly sealed at the end of the night with a vacuum bin or whatever it is that you use, not just a cork, but something that will last probably 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
In the fridge. Yep. Or reds on the cabinet. Yep.
Okay. Nice. Well, I would like to thank Finn, Casey, Wilma. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been, I'm so happy. I can't even begin to tell you.
It was fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, thank you guys for letting me partake. It was a lot of fun. I've never done anything like this before, so it was definitely a great learning experience.
Yeah.
You did
fun. So thank you so much, Kenny, for inviting us back. This was a ton of fun.
Well, thank you all three of you for joining us. I'd like to thank you to all of our guests who joined us tonight for the virtual tasting for wine and cheese. And I know I'll be hanging out at the cheesemonger next week. I'd like to thank everyone who joined us tonight for supporting the museum through your ticket sales tonight. We depend on your support, especially now. And I want to invite you to consider donating to the museum to make sure that we can continue to serve our community as best we can. The next tasting will be on March 17th, which is St. Patrick's Day, with Blue Spirits Distillery. We will be tasting cherry whiskey, of course, whiskey, St. Patrick's Day, as well as an espresso vodka and a lime tequila. Kind of curious about those. Registration will open soon and kits will be available for pickup at the museum itself. We look forward to when we can share wine and cheese together again in person. And I'd just like to thank everyone so much for joining us, our panel and everyone in the chat. So,
salute everyone.
Salute, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you all.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Bye. Cheers.